Hey there, welcome back. This is video number 3 in this series on Sor's Study in C. So now we've gone through, we've gotten our basic roadmap, we've looked at all the notes and the musical markings, we have played our hands separately and we've put them together. And so now this next step that we're going to be talking about in this video, which is phrasing, how to make it more beautiful, things like that, how to work with dynamics, that's the louds and the softs, the swells and the fades. This step could actually have been done earlier with the rhythm, but for this video set, I'm just putting it in now after you've done the other things. What's actually best is to watch this video and to do all these things while you're actually doing the hands separately and while you're counting, so that you're always doing this these musical things. But I have to put this somewhere, and so it's here. So with that, let's just look at the A section and phrase this. I forgot to mention earlier as well, all of this is available on tab if that's your preference. I suggest that you read music because there's so much more information here, but this is all on tab with the download packet as well. So download that. So let's take a look at what to actually do with these notes, dynamic-wise and musicalness-wise. So first off, there's a couple of rules that we want to conform to, and the first one is whenever things are going up, like this is a line of music right here going up, whenever that happens, we want to get quieter as it gets up to the top. So we're going to do this type of thing. This is a decrescendo. It gets quieter. Whenever it comes down, we're going to get louder. Now this is a blanket statement, and as time goes on and you get more nuanced with your dynamics and everything, then yes, we do things differently. But as a basic rule, ingrain this early on because it will work for you more times than not. So this is a high leverage way of just working with your dynamics. If it's going up, get quieter. If it's going down, get louder. Later, you'll know the exceptions to the rules and everything like that, but this is a good place to start. Start with the rule, then go for the exceptions. That's the big one. So throughout this, then, we can look for places that we have lines going up, like this one. Here's another one right here. We'll go quieter going down, and then we'll get louder going down. Then this all jumps around, and so it's a little bit different because this is just all like jumping around over here, all this kind of business. And so we'll talk about that more later in a minute. And so this is mainly for lines, whenever we have a line of music going up or down. So that's that. The next thing we want to talk about is don't accent the high note. Where's the high note? Looking around. This is a high note. It's the highest note around itself, right? If you look at the notes around, then it's the highest one. This is a high note. Looking around. This is now a high note. This is a high note. This is a high note. So if you look at these, then you can say, what's the note that is, the highest note around with the 2 or 3 notes on either side? And that's the high note. Don't accent them. That means don't let them pop out. They can't be louder than the notes around them. So make sure, you could also, if you wanted to, just put a big slash through them. Don't play those loudly. Back off on those. So first things first, those are 2 rules that if you do those things, you'll be well on your way to playing very beautifully. Next, we have this right here, which is, we have a long note going on right here, and then we have a smaller note value after it. And so whenever we have a long and then we have a short, short, long, short, short. Whenever this happens and you have multiple short notes after a longer note, make the first note quiet. So basically this phrases to here, and then we go off. And now this one then is our big, it's a big, it bounces us up into the top one. Bah. So this one bounces us up into the top, this one right here. So basically, then how do we play that? We play it like this right here. We play this note, and then the first one's quiet, off. And then we have bigger, and here. Because that's a high note, the second C, then we're going to back off on that. So off, and here, off, and here. And I would just loop that, off, and here, off, and here. So just loop that in. Whenever you have a long note, then short notes, the first of the short notes is quiet. The next thing, I know I'm blasting through these, the next that we have is that whenever we approach a note over the bar line by a lower note, which is this thing right here, accent the lower note. Now we just already did that because it's a high note, but whenever you're jumping up to something, It's like go walking out onto a diving board. You jump, your force goes down, boom, and then it launches up to the high note. So bottom, and that way the higher note just floats out of it. Da-dum, instead of da-dum. It just doesn't, it's not as pretty. So whenever you have this jump up to a high note, accent that bottom note a little bit and it'll launch you up. It just means play it louder. Da-dum, ba-dum, like that. And it propels the music forward is what it does. Great. So the next thing that happens that is really interesting is half steps. And so this note right here, this note is different. It's a sharp, right? It's an F sharp. And so we want to bring attention to that. Da-dum. Another reason is that it's actually resolving up to the G, F sharp, G. So in that case, remember we're not going to accent the G, but sit on this F sharp a little bit hard. Ba-dum. And da-dum, ti-do. It gets us, because it's an interesting note, meaning it's a different note, it's a sharp, and also because it's a half step, it's one fret below the note that we're going to. Half steps are interesting. We'll talk about that more on the second part, but half steps are interesting. So really make the most of this right here. Now I told you that we would look at this whole second section down here a little bit more, and we will right now. So whenever you have this bouncing around, these notes that are bouncing around, the first thing to do is look and see if they form a chord, because it might be an arpeggio pattern or something. And in this case, it does. It's a D7 chord. So if you know your chords, then you can know this is just a D7. You can just put on a D7 and then just play through it. And then this right here is a G chord. You look at all this. This is also bouncing down. And so then we have a G chord. So D7, G. In an analysis, like a theoretical analysis of this would be the 5 chord leading to the 1 chord. But it's actually, we're cadencing into the dominant. Don't worry about it if you don't understand it, then just skip over that. But this would be the 5, and then this would be the 5 of 5. If you geek out on that kind of stuff, then now you know. If you don't, then totally ignore it. So whenever you're playing these, then put all the notes on so that way they overring or just be more beautiful, and make more of the F sharp, and then playing your G down. Then then just finish it right out and then take the repeat. Now as the repeat, you can think of this as all being a long note, and then so you don't want to accent this note the first time. So whenever you're doing the repeat and you have to go from here to here, then make sure that this note's a little bit soft. This one, and we're kind of phrasing into that. Bum, 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 bum. So it kind of continues on instead of starting over. We don't want to sound like we're starting over all the time. All right, that is a bunch of stuff to think about with your A section. In the next section, we'll look at the B section. See you there.